All right. Judge Pat Dean, we are live. There was a little bit of technical difficulty there to start, but we're good to go. You good? You
I'm
comfy?
good, yeah.
How you like it?
I love it.
Good little setup.
Yeah. No,
Seats comfortable. What do you think of the lights, the name?
No, it's great.
Dr. Tarbe. Hey, before we start, Pat, I think there's something very important that we need to do. As of the recording here, Tuesday, I think we are May 20th. We need to have a little moment of silence. Norm from Cheers passed away today.
Really?
Yes. You didn't hear that?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, you know Norm from Cheers, always sat in the corner.
Really?
George went. He passed away today. So, Norm, this one's for you. We're gonna dedicate this to Cheers. Did you ever watch that show?
That's why he's been on. I've seen these little clips
Mhm.
a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't see where he passed away though.
Yeah, Norm Cheers. You know, I tell you, all these shows, these guys, they keep going. I mean, I heard that, all my childhood, 1980s, 70s, all these shows I keep watching. The dad from Full House, he's no longer with us. It's like, oh, it's getting sad. Oh, well. So, Pat, I want to talk a little bit about you. I want the viewers to kind of get a little bit of a history here of, I know Pat Dean as mayor. I know him as county judge. You know, what all happened before that? Where did this all start?
Well, I mean, I don't have a glamorous entry into this.
Okay.
I moved to. We lived in Crowley actually. Our house flooded, so
Okay.
I just thought, where's the highest ground, you know? And so.
Oh, your house flooded in Crowley.
In Crowley.
And you're like, we got to get higher.
Yeah, and so I came out here for my job, and so we came out here, and she was like, "Is that like in Abilene?" I was like, "No, it's not near that." So,
What was the work? What was the job?
I was a sales manager for a consumer products company, and this was the route,
Okay.
you know. And so, I loved it out here when I come and talked her into coming out looking at houses, and
Okay.
and that was 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, I've only been here like 20, 21, I think. So,
no, that's-
35 years.
Yeah, and so I mean, I moved out here.
Raised a
and
family here.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, except our older daughter, our daughter.
Yeah. Yep.
We had her in Crowley,
Okay.
and because we were having to hold her going through the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really glamorous. I mean, we moved out here, we built a house,
Okay.
and we had all these trees, and so I had to put grass out. Grass wouldn't grow,
Mm-hmm.
and so I sodded my yard, you know. And then the city, which I lived in Hudson Oaks, told me I couldn't water but once a month. You know, I was like,
Oh.
so well, that
This is
really,
the birth of the political, like,
well, yeah,
oh, I got
yeah,
it.
and you know, there was just one issue after another, and I just thought, you're wrecking my world here, you know. And so,
Those Hudson Oaks rules.
yeah, you know, I it made me mad.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
you know, this is what's your. And I'll never,
Did you go for city council or mayor right off the bat?
city council?
City council
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, because in a general law city, the mayor don't vote. So, but yeah, and I didn't want that. I just wanted to solve these issues,
Mm-hmm.
and so I ran for council my first time, and that was before the whole area was annexed in.
Yep.
And so I lost, and so I thought, you know, and I lost only by 9 votes.
Oh.
So I led a petition and got all the Diamond Oaks into the
Okay.
city, and ran again and got.
Oh,
9.
Diamond Oaks was not
No.
part of the city. Interesting.
My house was the last house in the city.
Okay, all right.
And so nobody could vote, you know, and so I led a petition, and the next election I gained about 98% of the vote.
Wow.
And so the first thing we did is come talk to Weatherford about water, and a year later we had a water tower.
Excellent.
And I
Oh,
thought-
that's the Hudson Oaks Water Tower.
Yeah. So
Just got repainted like 7-8 years ago. It's got or maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks good.
And that was my fault because I picked the color, actually. So they repainted it, what's the design today. But it was
Yeah.
actually my mess up with, I picked this color, it just didn't look good on it. Everybody's like, we got to vote on this.
I'll tell you, I like the color scheme in Hudson Oaks. I like kind of, it's a good one. I don't know if it's greens and some of the browns and stuff, but I kind of like the color going on in Hudson Oaks. So Hudson Oaks good. So I want to go back though. So we're in Crowley. How did we get to Crowley? So where'd Pat Dean go to high school?
I went to ODY.
Oh, you went to ODY?
I did.
How'd you like that?
You had to adapt and survive.
It's a It's a little bit of an adapt and survive school today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not for the faint of heart.
No, I've seen stabbings. There was a shooting. I
Wow.
was right by where he got shot, and that was just the way it was. And then I went to Texas Wesleyan, which is still in the same area.
Oh yeah,
And
Wesleyan's a beautiful campus.
It is.
It's surrounded by there's some, you want to lock your car sometimes. Yeah, I get it, but it's a beautiful area. I love Wesleyan.
Yeah, it's a good school.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. And so I went there, but I didn't have a degree at that time when Kathy and I got married,
Okay.
and so I had to work my way through, and so I worked my way through to Texas Wesleyan, and we moved. My house got flooded. Then we moved to a rent house trying to figure out where we're going to go. And
We keep going back to this flooded house. That was a big deal, huh?
Oh, it was, yeah.
Crowley. Where was it in Crowley that it got flooded? It was by the Trinity? Is Crowley down by the Trinity? No, I don't really know my
No,
geography.
it was but what I didn't know was that there was a
floodplain.
It was in the 100-year flood.
Oh yeah.
So that we didn't worry about it, but it flooded.
We lived on Lake Weatherford for about 7 years, and the bottom of our house was in the 100-year floodplain, and we never got flooded. We're good, knock on wood. But that was we had to pay FEMA and flood insurance and all that kind of stuff. But, okay, so your house flooded, and you're moving to Weatherford, moving to Hudson Oaks. Rather, you're now a part of Hudson Oaks. You're elected to the city council. How was that experience?
It was.
Who was the city manager? Was Patrick still?
No, it was a lady that was there, had been there for a long time.
Yeah,
and so there was a lot of changes.
Gotcha.
But it's really kind of funny because when I got sworn in, the mayor at that time told me I wasn't welcome. He didn't like the way I campaigned, or he didn't like, we don't want change. We want it just the way it is. And there needed to be a cultural change. And just like with the county, and I'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, we grew together. We worked together, and we started accomplishing some things. And then we got the water tower. I was like, well, now what? I solved my water issue.
Mm-hmm.
Then I learned you can make a difference, And so people always talk about, the federal government, but there's not a layer of government that affects your life more than the local.
Absolutely.
So,
no, that's a big one. I like how you said that, because that is a big thing. Most people don't necessarily realize, but your school district and your school board will affect you more. Your city council, your mayors, your county officials will affect you. Which roads get done and don't done, or how they mismanage or manage appropriately the money. And so, I totally agree with that. But it's not glamorous. It's not the sexy thing. That's the federal government. That's the national news that we watch. But you're absolutely right. The local government is the one that affects it big. So when did Patrick come on in Hudson? Were you mayor then?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I wanted to do when Mayor Voyles retired and moved to Mississippi, I wanted to professionalize the staff. It was still...
so the mayor was Voyles. That's Gene
Right.
Voyles, and that's the park, Gene Voyles Park.
Right.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was the one that told me, I'm not welcome here, and we grew to be very close.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so, in fact, it was me that requested it be named after him.
Oh, that's good.
So,
that's very nice of you.
But he'd been there. He was a founding charter member of the council, and so. But I thought, I evolved. I changed. I thought you can make a difference in people's lives. Really quick here. But I was there 20 years, and you didn't get paid. And I was proud to say that I never expensed anything, and there was a
good deal.
$30 receipt that actually hit me, and I was so upset because I've been 20 years. And,
yeah.
But I didn't want to get paid. I didn't want
No,
anything
that's good.
like that. And so
it's a service job for sure. A lot
is.
of these school boards, these municipal governments, city councils, county jobs, it's you're doing it because you want to give back, and it sounds like you've been doing it for a long time, and that's good. So let's keep going through the progression. When did the kind of bug, the itch, the desire to run for county level office?
Well, it actually occurred a lot longer ago, but I was good friends with Judge Riley.
Okay.
But it was really an automatic pilot in Hudson Oaks. We professionalized the staff. We had Patrick come in, and it was.
So you felt Hudson Oaks was in a good spot. They were safe. You'd done your work.
Right.
Time for somebody else to take over.
Yeah,
you want to move on to something.
And I wanted to do the same thing in the county because I saw things that because the county today is not the same county it was even 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Amen to that, yeah.
And so we're the fourth fastest growing county in the nation. And you think about that, 254 counties in Texas alone, so
No, I can't even imagine. My wife and I, we're not lifers. We're from New York. We were 2001, 2002. We moved down here, so we're on about 24 years, and we have. It's not the same county we saw 22 years ago. So I can only imagine the folks that have been here for 40, 60, 70, 80 years.
Right.
It must be just absolute, like, wow, what has Parker County become? And I hope they think it's positive. Some might not, but hopefully some do. I mean, we do have a Costco. No, that's pretty cool. But all right, so we're moving now into the county position. So decided to run for office.
I did, and I wanted to do the same thing what I did in Hudson Oaks at the county.
Okay.
And there's no knock on the county; they were doing a good job, but I felt like that we needed to prepare and start doing some more things and thinking about the future where we're going.
Sure.
And not that they didn't, but I wanted to be a part of that.
Yep. And when was the election? You were elected?
I was elected in
2018.
2018 in March of 18.
March of 18.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like Pat. It sounds like you're a goal-oriented individual. That's a good thing to be. You have goals. You want to accomplish them. Hudson Oaks, you mentioned you kind of did some of them. Now it's time to move on.
Yeah. Actually, I took office September 7th of 2018.
Okay.
And I took office, actually, what my term started was January of 2019.
Okay.
And so Judge Riley retired. And I got put in that chair really quick, you know. And so, it was a lot of trepidation about how to blend in with a commissioner's court that's been there for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not gonna kid. I mean, it was tough.
It was challenging, yeah.
And then you had, in my first term, it was like when you had COVID and all these things. It was like, wow, this is a tough situation.
It is tough. It is
you got
tough.
thrown into a lot of criticism, whether you have a health department or not, or big enough. And so we were kind of in that middle spot.
Well, I want to talk about that. So we talked about really goal oriented, really goal driven. You talk about entering challenging situations and overcoming challenging situations. And I do want to pivot because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you have taken up a very interesting hobby. And I think this is bigger than just a hobby. You have kind of gone all in on the triathlon world. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, that's a big deal. I'm kinesiology, I'm sports. I've done many a 5K. I've done some 10Ks. I've done some sprint triathlons. But to commit to a triathlon is like a lifestyle. I mean, it changes the way you eat. It changes the way you drink. It changes the way you, I'm not going to say govern, but, it changes your mindset.
It actually does all that.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, what was the spark that got you into that?
That was my son-in-law. And Kathy was telling me we're going to go to Waco and we're going to watch Nick go into this Ironman.
Ironman. Wow.
And I was like, and I got out there and I didn't really know anything about it, And so all I want to do is just, once we see him cross the finish line, let's go, And so I started looking at it and seeing what it was. I was like, what the hell's he thinking? Who does that?
Yeah, who does that?
So,
because for those of you who don't know, a triathlon, talk to me. First, you swim. How long's the swim?
For the Ironman, it's 2.4 miles.
What's a typical triathlon?
2.4.
2.4. And then you hop out of the water, dry off slightly, and you hop on a bike. And you go for
112 miles.
112-mile bike ride. I think Fort Worth is like 27 miles away. To put it in perspective, 112-mile bike ride in the race. From Weatherford to Fort Worth is about 27, 30 miles. Okay. And then when you hop off the bike, you do
Then you run for 30 miles.
You run basically a marathon. Marathon's like 32.2, right? So, I mean, you basically run a marathon.
Right.
At the very end, you run a marathon.
Right.
So, again, this is a lifestyle. This is something I have not tackled. I don't know if I ever will. I don't think I ever will because it really does require a commitment. You have to change the way you live, you drink, you eat, you sleep, relationships, everything. So you saw your son-in-law do it. You're thinking, what is he doing? He's crazy. So how did the bug get to you I'm going to do it?
Well, he qualified for the World Championship in France. And so he went, and we were in constant contact with April, my daughter, and she was preparing us that, he's not going to finish. He's not going to medal. And so because the man of wars were tearing him up in the water and, his water bottles all fell off real quick. And
wait, the what was tearing him up in the water?
Man of wars.
So he's getting chewed up in the water.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, he's getting stung and beat up in the water. Oh, that's horrible.
So, April was saying, it doesn't look like he's going to finish, and he finished with 3 minutes on the clock. And I couldn't get that out of my mind. I thought, because it really ties in with everything. It's not about being a part of something and trying to. I even stopped putting some stuff on Facebook because I didn't want it to look like I'm sitting there bragging about something. It's me against me. It's not any competition with
Absolutely.
anybody else. So I wanted to press myself to be better, and so I started thinking about it. So I called Nick and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. Well, I don't have a bike, and so I had to do that. And then I didn't know how to swim really, and
I remember you and I talking.
Yeah,
I'm
so
going
I-
to do a triathlon, but I'm struggling in the pool. It's like, oh,
man.
bro, I don't know a lot about triathlons, but if you don't swim great, you ain't doing it. That's the first thing in the water. You ain't doing it.
Well, and I joined the Y.
Okay.
You know, it's the only place I could go, and I got in the water. I always couldn't stand water in my nose. So and then I found that they won't allow the mess.
They won't allow scuba masks.
It's got to be goggles.
Okay, that makes
can
sense.
I get a clothespin?
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, and I was like, so I had to overcome that.
Okay.
And then I entered my first triathlon, and so it was in Galveston, and everybody's telling me, there's sharks and all this stuff, and
Yeah, there are.
but
There are sharks. There's hammerhead sharks all
yeah,
over
they've had
Galveston.
3 attacks this year.
Yeah, hammerhead sharks are like, they love Galveston.
In the same spot that we jump off, and so had all
Listen,
that.
Shark Week
Yeah.
goes to Galveston.
And I wasn't in the water probably maybe 10 minutes, and I ran into a where I thought was drowned, but somebody had passed away, but they actually had a heart attack.
Oh, man.
But I thought, because when I ran into him, I stopped and turned around. Then the sea dude came up, and so
Were you
that,
like,
that-
were you freaking out? Do you think
yeah,
that was like
then-
a
yeah, I thought it
shark?
was- no, I thought it was just drowned.
Oh, okay.
And so he said, "Go, just go." And so at that time, my time still wasn't great.
Okay.
And I was getting winded because I only been training 3 months.
So you're in the Galveston. You know there's sharks. You know you watched your son-in-law a few months or years earlier getting attacked by man-o-wars. You run over a body which you believe is a dead body. It's a guy having a heart attack. He ends up passing. Okay, that's scary as can be. And then you start swimming off crazy.
Well, that was the problem. I actually went off course
Oh,
because I'm a terrible directional swimmer. Well, I've gotten better.
well, it's not easy.
Well, I've gotten better because in the ocean there's no point to
Yeah.
and so I swam longer than I should have, and so coming into the end, I finished and I missed about 2 minutes.
You miss the time.
So
But that's because you went off course.
I would like
partially.
to. I would like to think
But-
that. Well, and so when they started taking my GPS off me, I was like, that tore me apart. I was like, I was
Wow.
like, what do you mean I can't go on? I mean, I don't get to ride my bike.
So if you don't finish in the minimum time,
in
you get pulled from the
segment-
race.
Yeah, and I didn't know
Oh.
this, but like even in the bicycle, you have a certain amount of time you got to finish it in, or they'll yank you.
They'll yank you.
And so,
Well, they can't stay out there for
right.
days. They have a time limit, and you got to
Yeah.
go. All right, so that first one didn't stop you though. You kept training.
No, it kind of pissed me off.
Yeah,
really, to be honest with
motivated you.
Oh, immensely.
Okay.
So I started doing more and trying to, but I really still didn't understand the whole process yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I elevated this and running 30, 40 miles a week, and so. But that
How's
was
your
the-
joints holding up? Knees and hips doing okay?
They're good.
Good. Okay. Good. Yeah. Then keep doing it.
That wasn't the problem.
Well, you weren't a lifetime runner, so in a way, starting a little bit later in life might be helping you. You might have an okay amount of meniscus. You might have an okay amount of joint tissue.
And I'd been working out before that
'Kay.
anyway, and I'd lost about 60 pounds or so.
Nice.
And so going into it was a lesser of a curve to overcome.
Gotcha.
And so
And less stress on the joints. You just
Yeah.
lost all that weight. Yeah.
yeah, but you forget, and there's one thing in all that preparation, and just to kind of narrow this down here,
Mm-hmm.
as I went and continued and then going into the next one, I did the water, and
Okay.
I got through the water, and with time left, and
Yep.
got on
Where
the
was
bike,
this one at?
Waco.
This was in Waco.
So yeah, and so I got on the bike, and the chain kept coming off, and it was frustrating me, but I still did it. And so going into, I probably hit this was the half Ironman on this one. So
Okay.
it was you swim 1.2 miles.
Okay.
You bike.
And you made it out of the water in time.
Yeah.
It's a smaller one, but sure. But you still made it out of the water
You
in
only
time.
got 70 minutes on that one.
Gotcha.
So that was quick.
Yeah.
And so
How about the bike? Did you make it out of the bike, or did you lose that time?
well, that's where the problem hit, and because I did really well in my preparation from a
Yeah.
physical standpoint, but when Nick drank a whole, it was almost like a freaking half a gallon of water. Well, I didn't want to have to go to the restroom, so I didn't think about that.
You got
And so-
dehydrated?
my hydration, I didn't really think about it. So I'm into mile 50, 57 miles on the
Hit
bike.
the wall.
And my legs just started cramping so bad, they pulled me out of the weeds and put me in an ambulance.
But that wasn't your last race. You ended up doing a third one, which I think was just
Well,
this.
no, I did a play try. It was almost the same, but a little bit different.
Okay.
A little less miles on the bicycle. The run was 7 miles.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad. And so I finished that one in really good time.
Nice.
And that was great.
It's good motivator. Good motivator.
It was. And so,
you need encouragement. You can't always have setbacks.
Yeah,
You got to
and
have some
so-
successes.
and so now I registered again for Galveston and did that one. And
That's the one this last weekend?
yeah.
So let's talk about that, because that one was full of
2
successes.
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks ago. That one that you had told me off camera, nothing you can control. They got rid of the swim. The water was too rough.
It
was crazy.
But
So
it was
you
50 miles.
So you do the bike, you do the run, you complete it all, and I think you said, you were telling me, but you're again just mad as all heck because your bike went like off the GPS slightly.
Well, I got a different bike, and it was more modern.
Oh yeah,
It
let's
was
talk about this bike.
Bluetooth and Bluetooth gears and all that.
So when you say Bluetooth, we're all thinking your music went down.
No, you can't listen to music. And so,
Okay, you can't listen to music. So when you say Bluetooth, you're talking about your bike.
The shifting of the gears.
Your bike shifts based on Bluetooth.
Right.
Never heard of such
There's
a
no
thing.
wires.
Never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, you just push the button and the Bluetooth, and so the main brain of it went out, and so about every 2 or 3 miles it was just going out of gear, and so.
Oh man.
But I still finished in about 3.5 hours.
That would have been wildly frustrating.
Yeah, but it was so fast. I was averaging over 20 miles an hour,
Wow.
and for that bike, I could have never done that on the other bike.
Okay.
So, but anyway. I got through this. It wasn't a problem at all, and it had been raining.
Yeah.
I actually rode the bike in the rain, but which kind of was scary. But then we got into the run.
Bikes in the rain, man. They slip and fall all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Did you see any down riders?
Oh yeah. There was several pileups, but anyway, so I got to the run.
There was what?
Pileups.
There was several pileups.
Oh yeah.
You witnessed that? You saw the
Oh
pileup?
yeah. One was my son-in-law. I think went down, but he got back up quick and.
Yeesh.
But anyway, I got to the run.
Okay.
And I took a wrong turn. I got off course, and then realized when I saw a different mile marker. So I went back trying to find.
And you finished.
And so I went through it, and
Got your medal.
they gave me a medal, but technically I went off course in their rules. I violated the rules.
Yeah.
So,
But
it didn't really bother me because I didn't do the swim, so it didn't really. In my mind, it's all preparing for the next one.
And
so
when is so we've already thinking about that?
We're back to Waco in October.
Waco in October.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, you'll be in our thoughts. Waco in October.
Well, I mean, it's. I really want to.
Where do they
stress this.
swim down in Waco?
What do you mean?
Is there a lake?
The Brazos.
They just swim in the river. Okay.
Yeah,
Swim in the river.
yeah. It's not bad, but it really it's.
There's gators in there.
Don't say that. But I mean, honestly, it's just about being.
There is
better.
snakes. I don't know about the gators, but there's definitely snakes.
No, it's just trying to prove myself. It's about health.
Okay.
And
Yep.
So yeah.
Is there a moment like, hey, if I finally do it, I'm done. I'm not going to keep doing these triathlons, or you think you're going to keep doing them?
I think I'm going to keep doing it.
All right.
The
I love
exhilaration of walking out on that pier, and going into that water, and it's just nothing like it.
I love it.
It's great.
I love it. Well, I'm proud of you, man. That's super exciting. Something I can do. I'm a pretty well accomplished young man. I can't do a triathlon. I could never do one.
Well-
I'd have to train for a year or two probably before I got up to doing it. So that's good for you. I want to pivot off the triathlons real quick. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. County judge, we're here. We're talking. I would be remiss if I did not ask you just about the current state of affairs. What's going on in Parker County right now? I have to admit, I have not been to a commissioner's court meeting in several years. I mean, what's going on right now? What's the big positive move? We're excited about something. What's going on? What should we be excited about in the county?
Well, we're dealing with the growth in a conservative way, because one of the biggest challenges, you hear this all the time, is all these people are moving out here, and I think there's like 30 people a day moving out here. And so how do you handle that growth but yet maintain that rural feeling?
Sure.
Yeah, and so we're really doing well with that, I
Okay.
think. And so we need a justice center. That's going to cost money. We need, our jails are overcrowded, so we're shipping our inmates out, and that's killing us. And so
Okay.
we're having to deal with that. And that sounds bad, but it's really not, because we have a thriving economy. Our property values are going up. Our taxes are going up. But it's better than the opposite.
Yeah.
Because eventually, if to focus on high wage job growth and bringing jobs out here and a lot of industry and areas where that will fit, that will get the taxes down off people's back. And we're in the bottom 10% in the state
as far as taxes.
with taxes, but yet the fourth fastest growing county.
And
in
then
the nation.
we have improvements coming for some of the road congestion, right? Or is textile? So many folks. Well, I was talking to Mayor Pascal about this too, and so many folks just love to blame the local officials. A lot of it's TxDOT, and I've seen this, so I do want to jump on and say, oh, I'm mad too. I'm sitting in traffic driving to Fort Worth, but it's not like if Weatherford or the county could just snap their fingers and all of a sudden expand the interstate, we would have done it a long time ago. You can't just do that, though. You got to go through a process. You got to try to. How is all that working out? What's the plans for some of the road?
When I got here, it wasn't even on the 15-year plan.
Oh,
And so we immediately got on the 15-year plan.
nice.
And then I'm the representative on the Regional Transportation Council,
Okay.
and we were able to get it down closer to 7 years.
Okay.
And so now we're down to 7, but that's all because of the environmentals of the, well, two things. One, the environmentals, it's got to go through the feds for that to widen the freeway. But also, we got to connect the access roads. We can't just shut the freeway down. And so that,
No, you cannot. Please don't shut the freeway.
so we're doing that
Okay.
at a rapid pace.
Okay, good.
And so we passed the largest bond in the history of this county, the transportation bond, last year. And so I think there was like 42 projects we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the end of it. We'll probably end up having another bond in a couple of years on that.
Well, the road people don't like bonds and they don't like higher taxes, but the road thing, I don't know. It feels like the one where folks would say, "Okay, fine, fix the road.
Right.
Fix the congestion, fix the traffic." Not that they don't care what it costs, but within reason, fine. Fix the roads, fix the traffic, get it going. So I think you'd have support with that.
Well, this is one thing I really want to say, that the 3 bonds that we did since 2008, the county has absorbed that. We got voter approval, but yet we were paying them.
Gotcha.
The constituents weren't paying it. And so we did in 6 years, we've only gone up on taxes once.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know if everybody might understand exactly what you're saying. When you pass the bond, you have the ability to raise taxes
Doesn't mean you have to.
and let the taxpayer pay for the project.
Right.
You're saying the last 2, I don't want to put words in your
Last
mouth.
3.
Last 3, you got permission to. Voters said yes, but you
Yep.
didn't need to.
No, we really kind of did need to.
Yeah.
But we were conservative. We were pulling money out of we were getting up in the 30 million range in our funds.
Yeah.
So we took money out to balance the budget, but yet not on the taxpayer's back.
Awesome.
And so we did raise this last year. I think we added 2 cents per hundred, because we had to make the bills.
No,
So,
that's good. Pat, we're at about our last 20 seconds before we lose our camera here. And any last closing words? What do you got?
no, I'm just
Super excited.
I love my job. I love what I do.
Love the county.
I've never been healthier in my life, and it's just I want to do it again. And also want to run another term, and we'll
Awesome.
see where we are then.
Well, you got my vote.
Well, thank you.
All right, Judge Dean. Hey, thanks, brother.
You bet.